Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. All right, joining me via Zoom. We did this around this time last year where America found out that Torres has been to Lake Charles, Louisiana, but only the casinos, never to McNeese State University, which has just clinched its second straight Southland title. Coach Will Wade, man, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing well. We're actually not that far from the casinos, so
I
uh,
know.
it's not a far drive.
The problem is, once you get to
Problem
that
is getting you out of the casino once
yes,
you're in
yes,
there.
you get lost and, you take a wrong turn and then you're there for 3 days and you don't even know what happened. So I get it. But first off, man, first of all, in all seriousness, congratulations. Second straight Southland title. I think everybody's kind of wrapping their arms around college hoops right now on a national scale. Tell us a little bit about your team, what you're doing. Maybe do you feel like things are different this year than last year? Would be curious for anything that America needs to know about the Cowboys, the Bayou Bandits, as they can see on your shirt right now.
Well, we won it last year. We kind of came out of nowhere. We hadn't been very good. This year, uh, we were building off of last year. We played a much tougher non-conference schedule this year. We played at Alabama. We played Mississippi State in Tupelo. It was supposedly a neutral court, but it wasn't very neutral when you play there. So we've got a different team. Last year we were led by really one guy, Wells, who was the conference player of the year, conference newcomer of the year. This year, we've got way more balance. We've got 7 guys that score 7.5 points or more a game. We just have a lot more balance, a lot more ways that we can, that we can beat you this season. Now, there's some stuff that we were better at last season than we are this year too. But our numerics are better. Our numerics are higher than at any point than they were last year, just in terms of Ken Palm and some of that sort of stuff. So we've got some pretty good stuff. And look, we got to finish it off. We've got a tough road trip here to end the league schedule. Then we've got the league tournament, and everybody in our league's gotten better. That's been a challenge, and it's been good. But everybody in our league's gotten better. I think a lot of people in the league were kind of, woe is me if we win the league. We're going to be in the play-in game, 16 seed. And then last year when we got a 12, a lot of schools and a lot of teams were like, all right, maybe we can do this. So everybody's gotten better. So the league tournament's going to be very, very challenging to win. But we do host it, and we get a double bye to the semifinals. So it gives us a good opportunity. But we got to make it happen.
So that's really interesting, and I don't want to, I don't want to give you too much credit or disparage anybody else, but it sounds like kind of like a rising tide lifts all boats kind of deal where they saw the success that you had, and I don't want to do the cliche like why not us, but it kind of became why not us across the league.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that. I think it was just we are who we are. Everybody who wins it gets in the play-in game and gets a 16 seed. And, if we win the play-in game in Dayton, that's great. Then we go get waxed by the 1 seed. I think we've been in the play-in game like 4 of the 5 years. I think it just gives I mean, we've got 5 teams in the top 200 of Ken Palm right now. We're in the top 100, top 75 really. But we've got 4 others that are between, basically 180 and 195, which is really good for our league. The year before we got in it, I think Corpus won it. They were 118, and they played Northwestern State, who was in the 130s or 140s in the championship game. So it's just the league's gotten better. We have a lot better teams. We have really, really good coaching, and I think everybody just sees an opportunity now that, hey, if you invest in basketball, you invest in men's basketball, you can get a return on that investment where maybe before they didn't feel that the return was quite as good as the investment would be. The ROI wasn't as good.
No, I get it. Let me ask you a question. I was watching you guys the other night, the game that you guys clinched the conference title, and I found it interesting. I mean, we know how great of a recruiter you are, all that, but I was watching. You got guys from Syracuse, Ole Miss, Brandon Murray, who was with you at LSU, then Georgetown, Ole Miss, whatever, ASU. It might be like the very cliche question, but like, how do you get all those guys to buy in, right? Because they're coming from the high major level, I don't want to, again, speak for anybody or whatever, but I assume everybody thinks they're going to come to McNeese and think they're going to be a star. But, I saw what I see from all Will Wade teams, a lot of ball movement, a lot of, team communication, stuff like that. And I'm just curious because you obviously have accumulated a lot of talent, but you and your staff are coaching it up as well.
Yeah, well, I got to get good players to overcome the coaching. So I always
Whoa.
say 5-star players, 3-star coaching. It's still
Okay.
equal to win. That's the way it works.
Sure.
But I mean, look, we've got talented kids, and uh, you just demand it of them. I mean, look, I hit them between the eyes. I tell them, hey, this is what we expect. This is what, if you can meet these standards, this is what will happen. If you don't meet these standards, then you're going to leave it to chance. And a lot of that stuff, if you have difficult conversations, honest conversations with people, they understand, hey, this is where it is, and this is why I am where I am. And it all comes back around. Copeland, who starts for us at point guard, the transfer from Syracuse, who you mentioned, he hardly played early in the year, a couple of games. I mean, he didn't even play, and now he's our starting point guard because he came around. And we've had Murray was starting for us early in the year. He had some injuries and he was out for a while, and so we were winning. So we just kind of stuck with what we've been doing. But he's obviously a starter. But we've got a lot of good players. It creates good competition for practice, good competition every day to do what you're do your job, execute your responsibilities fully, and so gives us a level of accountability. Um, within the team. Now, if I'm being transparent, like I really don't like playing all these guys. I'd
Sure.
rather play 7 or 8 guys. We play 9 guys. It's a little bit much. In my opinion, I like playing 7 really with an eighth that's kind of ready to go. We came in like top 3 in the SEC one year and basically played 6 guys. We had like 4 of the top 5 guys in minutes in the SEC one year. We just played 6 guys and whatever. I prefer that method of doing things, but this team's built a little bit different, and we've got 9 guys that deserve to play, and so that's what we do.
So let me ask you, because that's an interesting thought process here is like, in this world of NIL and not really NIL, but more portal of like, if guys don't play, they just want to leave, da da da. It feels like it's a big talking point in college basketball right now of like, how do you build your roster? And I'll just use a quick example, not saying he did it right or wrong, but when John Calipari got to Arkansas this offseason, he basically said, I had too many guys at Kentucky last year. I'm basically bringing in 9 playable players. Then a guy gets hurt, is out for the year. Now he's down to 8, but it's kind of working for him. And I'm just curious. I mean, how much can you plan for that? How much can you not plan for that? Because it's like one of those deals where, like I said, I can't speak to what's going on at McNeese, but I know that's a big talking point is like nobody really needs 13 scholarships anymore. If you have too many guys sitting at the end of the bench, everybody's just mad. So what is like that process of building things out in April and May? So, so you have that, the right balance come December, January, February, et cetera.
Yeah, I do think you need 13 scholarships. Now, I always tell our staff this, and they'll probably get mad I'm saying this, but depth is overrated for games, but underrated for practice.
Fair.
You need good players for practice. Like if you're going to have competitive practices and make it through the year, like you need good players. Now, you probably need 10 playable guys, and then, somebody's going to get, banged up during the year. And then there's going to be, so then if you get 10 playable guys, you'll end up with 8 on game day, most game days. And then your staff's got to have 9 and 10 ready to go when all 10 are ready. And, you've got to do a good job. You got to do a good job with those guys. But once again, I mean, I think it's just being transparent with them. Like I tell them, like, this is what it is. This is how it's going to be. You want more, do this. If you want less, keep doing what you're doing.
Sure.
And so, this is how it is, and take it or leave it.
Well, and
Uh,
I was going to ask too, as a follow up to that, is it feels like, because especially with college hoops, all these kind of older coaches leaving, feeling like, quote unquote, we don't have control or it's a player for sport. I mean, you're a guy that feels like you found that balance. I mean, is it just as obvious and, and apparent as you got to be honest, like the days of promising things in recruiting and then kids showing up and not delivering on that is like, because it just feels like I said, the older generation that's largely getting out now. It's like, oh, we have no control. It's like, I don't know. Will Wade seems to have it relatively figured out. There's a lot of young guys having success across, the SEC, the Big Ten, et cetera. So is that really what it just comes down to, is transparency and honesty and just not beating around the bush?
Yeah, I don't think we got it. I don't have it figured out by any means. But I mean, look, I think it all boils down to communication. And the kids today, I mean, you can say they're different, they're this, they're that. They're not that much different, but you do have to communicate with them,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got to tell them, hey, this is what's up. And then show them examples and show them what you want and say, hey, more of this, less of this. And so I think that um, a lot of the other stuff is just a cop out.
Sure.
You've got to take the time to communicate with your guys, to spend time with your guys where they understand, hey, this is where I stand, this is what it is, and we'll do that. And sometimes it's honest. I mean, I told one of my kids, I said, man, look, I thought you were going to be better. I
Mm-hmm.
misevaluated.
Hmm.
I misevaluated. I screwed it up. We'll get through this year. We'll make it as good as it can be, and I'll help you out and find you a better fit. I know, you're not a good fit for me. Like, I'm not good for you. You're not good for me. I didn't know that. I screwed it up.
Hmm.
And it's my fault. I mean, I'm the head coach. I'm the one who makes the decisions on who comes here and who doesn't come here. And so, I've told a kid that, and he plays for us. He comes off the bench, but I told him, I said, man, this just ain't good for you. It's not good for you. It's not good for me. But we're going to make it work as best we can this year, and then we're going to find you somewhere it's my mission to, we're going to graduate you from here, and we're going to find you somewhere that's better for you. And he appreciates it. He doesn't have to like it. And so, I tell our kids all the time, I believe there's a big difference between, being hurtful and harmful. Some of the stuff I say is going to
Hmm.
hurt.
Sure.
When I talk to you, it's going to hurt because it's going to be the truth. And one of the kids says, man, coach, you don't have to say the truth like that every time. But no, I mean, you do. But I'm never going to do anything to harm anybody. You may have to have hurtful conversations, but we're never going to do anything to harm anybody. We've redshirted kids who we didn't think were going to play as much. I gave them the option to redshirt this year, different things like that, because, harming them would be knowing they're not going to play much and playing them 4 minutes a game. You know, having a hurtful conversation is, hey, you're not going to play much right now, but I'm not going to harm you, so I'm going to give you the option to redshirt. So we have a lot of, try to keep that in mind, that we never want to do anything that's going to harm a player long term. And sometimes we are in tough spots, and you got to admit, hey, just like you want your kids to admit, they haven't lived up to their end of the bargain. Sometimes we screw up. I screw up sometimes. And you got to hit it head on and tell the kid, hey, man, I messed up. It is what it is. And we got to make the best out of this, out of this situation that we've got. And then I'm going to make sure that you're good moving forward. But right now, this is where we are.
Hurtful versus harmful. That's very good. I got to work on that with my wife. It's sometimes I can't find that balance properly. So I appreciate the insight there. Let me ask you this. I saw this quote from you a few months ago about NIL, and I'm curious for you to expand on it because, I think you've probably put a lot of thought into this, being a guy that loves college basketball, that knows you're going to be in it for a long time. But, you were kind of asked about NIL, and you said, with my buddy Mincy there, you said, everybody acts like the best teams are always going to get the players. But to me, there are a couple factors. One, you got to have the money. Then, two, you've got to be able to have the relationship to get the right players with the money that you have. And three, you've got to have a sense of how it all fits together. Would just be curious, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but it was an interesting comment that I think caught a lot. I don't think it caught people off guard, but it's just, again, I don't think many coaches are willing to have the honest conversations about where we are, where this thing's potentially going, and how it all fits together. Would just be kind of curious for you to expand on what you said with Mincy.
I mean, I think the point of it is it's not just whoever has the biggest bag all the time. I mean, look, you've got to have money. There's a certain level of money you've got to have to compete at whatever level you're at, whether that's the Southland, the Sun Belt, Conference USA, or, the Big 12. I mean, there's certain, but I mean, if you look at it, the teams that spend the most money, I mean, they're all on not all, but a lot of those guys are on the bubble right now. I mean, look, having money doesn't solve all the issues. One, you got to have the money. I mean, there's a team, I'm not going to say the team, there's a team that couldn't give away their money this year. They couldn't give it away. They're in the bottom four of their league right now. They're in a power conference league. They had a ton of money. They still got a ton of money sitting in the bank. They couldn't give it away to people. They were offering freshmen to reclassify in the fall. I mean, they were doing all sorts of stuff. They couldn't give it away.
Wow.
My point is, one, they had all the money, but they didn't have two, which is the relationships. You still got to have relationships where people trust you. People trust that you're going to do right by who they. I mean, look, the money part of it's the money part of it. But, I'll use Alabama as an example. Alabama doesn't have a top five roster in the SEC in terms of what they spent money wise. All right. Not what they spent money wise. Now they got a top five, they got a top three, two or three roster, in terms of players. But what they spent financially, it's not top five or six in that league. But they've got relationships, they've got players that want to play there because of the style of play. They've got some other things working in their in their corner. If you don't have the relationships, if I go to you and you've got, a 5-star and a 4-star, let's call it that, and I've got $2 million and I don't have a relationship with you and I call you about the 5-star, you're going to talk me into taking the 4-star with the $2 million.
Sure.
And because you're good at what you do. And and then the coach is going to talk himself into that too. And I think as coaches too, and I know, like, you got to be willing to say no. You got to be able to walk away from stuff. Like, you place a value on something. This is what I'm going to do. And hey, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, there's so many other people out there. But if you don't have the relationships, you're just going to get the second or third player from that same person or program or where agent or whoever it is. They're going to sell you on something else, and you're just going to pay more for a worse product. And so that's how you waste some of the money. So you've got to have the money, you got to have the relationships, and then you've got to, this is an area where I struggle. Like, it's not a talent grab.
Sure.
You've got to be able to fit you got to get three parts, and then you got to fit five pieces around the parts.
Sure.
You got to get three main parts to roll with, and then you got to have five pieces, and that's tough. I mean, somebody like myself, I see somebody go in, I'm like, oh, I love him. I'm like, well, we already got him. Like,
Sure.
I gotta chill out. So you've got to be able to have discipline and understand how all the parts and pieces are gonna fit together. And I think if you've got all three of those components, you've got really, really good team. I'll use Alabama again as an example. You look at Auburn and what they've done. You look at someone like Iowa State. They're doing it on limited resources at Iowa State. Even Houston. I mean, their stuff. They grow from within, and I know for a fact. Some of their kids were offered way more money and have stayed there. And have stayed there or go there for less money just because of the situation. So I mean, you've still got to have stuff that's attractive. It's just a different level of attraction and recruiting. I mean, there's kids that'll still go somewhere for $300,000 versus $500,000 somewhere else, just because it's a better program. They got better mechanisms, they got better standards within their program. And so you still have to have all that. I think that gets lost in the well, this guy needs more money. Okay, yeah, they do need more money, but that doesn't solve everything. You can create more problems if you're not careful.
Let me ask you this, because again, you're a guy that's thought a lot about this probably. And I think you're just a good person to ask this. Like, where do you think NIL is going? Because obviously we have this thing coming where schools can pay players, we call it rev share, whatever. And I'm not an economist or a lawyer, but it feels like to me, yes, there's a cap, but again, how do you stop somebody who wants to, for true name, image, likeness? I mean, it doesn't have to be a Nike or an Adidas or whatever. It could be a car dealership. If somebody wants to pay, you can't pay. So anyway, enough about me and my ramblings. Like, what do you think NIL looks like 5 years from now? Like, what do you think the budget's going to have to, or do you think it's just going to be, hey, it's handled internally by the schools, da 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 da?
Well, I think the problem that's going to surface is they're trying to
I don't want you to
be.
get in trouble. So just,
No, 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 no.
okay,
I'm
okay,
trying to. No, no, no. I'm
okay.
not worried about that.
Okay, just make sure.
I think that the problem that's getting ready to surface is with the House settlement. You look at, I mean, most schools are going to give 15% to men's basketball, which is, let's call it 2.5, $3 million, right? There's a lot of schools spending more than 2.5, $3 million right now. So you're basically capping the market. And then you're going to go into these true NIL deals and you're going to go through a clearinghouse. And I do think they've got their stuff together for everything I've heard, I think the clearinghouse has their stuff together. I think they've got the right intentions on that. But, my assumption is they're going to get sued to high heaven by these kids and their attorneys and their agents, because they're basically trying to cap the market again. So the short answer is none of this is changing until there's collective bargaining. And, I think that there's got to be some level of collective bargaining, or it's just going to keep ending up in court, and it's just going to keep going. But, the rev share is good, but, the rev share is less than what a lot of schools, I'd say probably over half of the schools are spending right now. So now that, the rev share should have come first.
Sure, of course.
If that should have come first, and then they could have, if it had been red share with real NIL, everybody'd be fine. But they fought, the NCAA, everybody fought rev share. No, we're not doing rev share. We're not sharing with the kids. We're going to keep the money so we can, whatever, build a new pool or whatever it may be for training. But now that they have the NIL, and now they're trying to put it back in and go back to rev share, you're taking opportunity away in a lot of respects. And I think that's going to be very, very difficult. I think that's going to be very, very difficult I think it's going to be very, very difficult to defend when kids challenge that, when they don't like that their $10,000 NIL deal doesn't get approved. I think that's going to be a tough stance to take, and we'll see where it goes. But the short answer is, until there's collective bargaining, nobody knows what's going to happen. Like you have to be able to collective bargain, and I'm not talking about every sport, but I mean football and men's basketball particularly need to be able to collective bargain, and then set the caps and go to work. But I do think the idea is good, what they're trying to do. I think the execution is going to be good. I think they've thought through all this. I think Deloitte, I think they've gone through all this. I think they're pretty thorough with this. I think the reporting mechanisms are going to be good. But I just think that the kids now know, like, how the kids now know what the market is.
Yep.
Before this, nobody really knew the market. Now the market's out there. Everybody knows kind of the market. And so it's going to be hard to readjust and shift down the market when it's already shifted into high gear. And I think we're naive if we think that the players, and now that they're allowed to have agents, and agents are usually tied in with it. If they're just going to sit there and take it sitting down, that the market's got a cap on it. I think that's going to be tough. Now we'll see what the House settlement, the judge, she can approve it as is, or she can approve, there's some talk, she may just approve the back pay portion of it, and some of the moving forward stuff she may not want to get into. So, we'll see, but without, that's why the NCAA and everybody's always lobbying for Congress. Without congressional help and some sort of, exemption for them, where they can basically, the exemption would be basically they can break the law, but, without some sort of help, or some sort of, compromise there, boy, it's going to be tough, moving forward.
All right, we got into Congress and a lot of serious stuff here. Let's just go ahead and wrap a couple quick things. First of all, yeah, I know. I didn't know we were gonna go quite that deep. I knew, I was gonna, it was gonna get serious, but I didn't know it was gonna get quite into Congress and all that. So, a couple things. One, guys are rolling. Obviously, you got a couple more regular season games. You got the Southland tournament. It's at your place. Just really, I mean, it's the easy cliche to ask at this time of year, but how do you keep it going? How do you get back into that bracket of 68? And I know last year was disappointing. You get Gonzaga, you're playing well, but it's a single, one and done, and you're out. And I mean, how do you just keep this momentum going, hopefully into the tournament? Don't want to jinx anything, knock on wood, and then have success once you get there.
Yeah, I mean, look, the number one goal at this level is to get to the tournament. And so we've done what we can do to this point, which is position us as well as we can to win our conference tournament. We got the 1 seed. We're playing at home. We got to play 2 games. Now we got to go do it. The teams we're playing are much better, as I went over before. And so now we've got to go. Now we've got to go make it happen. And then once you get to the NCAA tournament, man, it's all about matchups. Like Gonzaga was the worst possible
Yeah.
matchup. Like I went through our roster. Like we're small.
Yeah.
I mean, we're small. Like, I could go get a 7-footer, but like I could play him in 2 games in our league.
Sure.
So like, I mean, the number one goal is to win the league. So like our center 6'6", our four-man's 6'8", our backup center 6'8", 6'9". Like, I mean, we're not huge. I mean, my backup four-man's 6'5". Like we're not big because that's what works to win in our league. And so, if we, when we play, if we play a team that's got a big center and they got guards who don't turn the ball over, that's a bad matchup for us. And that was exactly what Gonzaga did. So,
Hmm.
it's really, I look at it like winning the lottery. The more opportunity, the more tickets you buy, the more opportunities you have, the better chance you got to win. So we got to keep winning, get a good, try to get in and get a good seed. And the more often you get the good seed, gives you an opportunity to win.
Real quick, I actually meant to ask this earlier, and it's the question I think a lot of people want to know is like you talked about communication back and forth with your players. I mean, obviously your name gets linked to a lot of stuff this time of year. How do you handle that, or do you not handle it? Do you not address? I mean, how because it's
Oh,
impossible.
they're all aware. You can't not
Yeah,
address it. I mean, they all know, and they ask me about it, and I tell them what's going on. I tell my staff. We had a staff meeting this morning. I tell them, hey, this is what it is. I don't tell them specifics,
sure, of
but I
course.
tell them, hey, here's where it is. And my staff's a little different because they trust that I'm going to handle it and take care of everybody and everything. And so there's not a lot there. And I'm not a big guy. I don't talk to a lot of people. I don't tell a lot of stuff. If you tell one person, it's no longer a secret. So,
Sure.
nobody really knows what's going on. But with the players, I'm open and say, hey, look, here's, there could be opportunities. Here's what it is. A lot of them shoot, it goes back to, well, what about me? And so, I've been having those conversations with guys since January. Hey, this is what it is. And this is where I see you next year. And, here are options. And so, we hit all that stuff head on, and there's no need to run and hide from it.
I'm not gonna, put you on a spot here, but I know you love McNeese's. I know you're not in a rush to leave. What would you be looking for? Like, because we talk about where college sports is going, where it isn't, where it is, where it might be. Like, what would just like from an administrative or whatever? I mean, is there anything specific if you were to seriously consider leaving McNeese's that you need to look for?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've moved around a lot. I'd like to, when I leave here, if I leave here, I'd like to go somewhere where I can stay 10 or 12 years.
Sure.
Um, if I
You're
don't
still a
wear out,
young guy.
if I don't,
That's
if I
not that
don't,
long.
I know if I don't wear out my welcome.
10 or
But
12 years.
I
I
mean,
mean, guys
look,
could coach till their 70s, man.
I've got it so good here with our
I
school
know.
president and with our athletic director that, that makes a huge difference. I've had it where, those guys are not as supportive of you. And I've had it where those guys are very supportive of you at various spots that I've been. And I've never had better or more support from both than I have here. And it makes a world of difference. We get a lot of the credit for turning it around. There's a whole team that turned this thing around. It's not just me. It's not just us, our staff. Like there's a lot of people that went into making this thing work. And so, earlier on in my career, I probably thought I could just do all that myself and I'd just be a force of nature and we'd figure it out and, whatever it may be. I now have a much clearer understanding of everything that it takes to really win at the highest level that you need to win at. And so that's something that I evaluate because I mean, look, I mean, reality is at McNeese, we're better than a lot of power conference teams right now. You go look at KenPom, we're ahead of at least a dozen of them right now, more
Hmm.
than that. So I mean, we can do it here. We can keep this thing rolling for a long time. And like you said, my family loves it here. I got tremendous administration, and we've got a great setup. And so I'm in no rush to just run out the door. But if certain opportunities were to present themselves, you certainly have to listen. But what McNeese has done for me and my family's just incredible, and I love it here, and I'd like to keep it rolling here as long as we can.
Well, I think you know this, but I spoke on a panel with your AD, who's just a badass. He's just awesome, man. I was with Heath in, about 3 months ago, and he's the best. And yeah, so I could see why it'd be fun working for that guy every day. I think I'll let you go. One last thing, and I'll let you go. Your student manager. Did you see your student manager go crazy? I know you're not on social media
Yeah,
anymore.
I
I
did.
understand. Go ahead.
Reed, my special assistant, I was with him all day yesterday. We had to go, we were traveling, and he was showing me all the stuff. And Amir's, it's awesome. I mean, he's like that every day. He's got a great personality, tremendous kid, and pretty cool to see. But it takes everybody to run a program. Everybody in your program is important. Our managers, all those guys are important. I mean, we're at a small school. We don't give money for managers. Those guys do it for nothing. I mean, I got them courtside seats to a Pelicans game last year to think of. I mean, that was all they got for the year. was they went. Told them to choose a Pelicans game at the end of the year, and they went and sat courtside. Like, that was it. And so to see him get recognized, and our players love him. Everybody loves him in the program, and it's been cool to see.
All right, well, Wade, it's a busy time, man. You gave me so much time. I genuinely probably asked two or three too many questions, but you're too nice to cut me off here. So I appreciate you. The cliche, but best of luck, man. The rest of the season. We'll be watching McNeese. I told you last year. I think everybody loves your story, loves the McNeese story, and so we'll all be watching, man. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate you having me on.